How's everybody doing? It's Paul from Magpie 24/7 back again with another view from the van, and the view is from the van, well, it's a bit miserable today actually. It's fucking pouring down, but that does nothing to dampen my mood after seeing Newcastle defy the pundits yet again, the so-called experts yet again, and claim a comprehensive, easy as you like victory against an in-form Leicester City side down in their own backyard. 3-0 against the Foxes, and we are second in the Premier League. That may not last. The Manchester City game is coming along and they have the opportunity to leapfrog us and jump back into that second position. But nobody can take away from the fact that this club is on the up, it is going places, and it is defying all expectations. I don't even think the Saudi PIF, I don't think Stavely or the Rubens or anybody connected with the club thought that the turnaround could be this sharp. This time last year we were second bottom. We now, as I speak at the moment, sit second in the table. And it puts a huge sock in the mouths of people who continuously try and pull the club down, the players down, the staff down, the fans down, everything to do with our club. And it's just amazing, because not only did they comprehensively beat this lot, and bearing in mind this lot is all that's standing between us and a semi-final place in the League Cup in our own backyard under the lights with a special atmosphere at St James's Park. More on that later on. Yeah, not only all of that, but we continue to do all of this with players missing. We've not had a full-strength squad, a fully fit squad available all last season, and this was the case again. You know, you're coming off a few sort of not great performances, but the friendlies, and there was the cup game. You're coming off a huge gap, what, it was 40 odd days with no Premier League action. But as soon as the whistle blew, as soon as the lads knew it was game time, it was time to get down to business. Get down to business, they certainly did. They wasted no time whatsoever in getting this one down in the history books. And when will those pundits, when will these so-called experts start giving a little bit of credit to Newcastle and Eddie Howe, which they truly and rightfully also deserve? Yeah, just get on to, onto the game itself. Newcastle out the blocks in amazing fashion. Not literally a couple of seconds on the clock. Big Joes bursting into the box. Panic stations for the Leicester lads. Big Joe gets taken down, clear as you like. No VR, no shit. I touched upon before, we've had that shit housery at the beginning of the season with referees. Imagine where we would be. Imagine where we would be if it wasn't for those results, if it wasn't for the likes of the Crystal Palace goal that never was, those extra points, if it wasn't for getting shafted at Anfield, where would we be? We could be even higher. It's been an amazing start to the season. It really, really has, and it was a fantastic start to the game. The referee points to the spot, easy as, and before you know it, courtesy of Chris Wood, who was fucking cool as ice, great penalty kick, came in when he thought he wasn't going to be playing, smashes the ball down the middle of the net, and bang, there you go, 1-0, cool as you like. A minute or so on the clock, couple of minutes on the clock, and Newcastle already have got the noses in in front. Now, I've spoke before about the great sort of connections around the team, the great sort of link-ups that we've got. You think of Kieran Trippier, you think of Miguel Almiron. You think of Miguel Almiron, you think of Bruno and Joe Linden. You go around, you've got your Fabian Schär's and your Sven Botmans. And again today, the second goal comes from those those good partnerships that we've developed all across the park. And it starts off Kieran Trippier, who's given Miguel Almiron a new life. 9 goals now. This was, I think, his 9th goal. He hadn't scored 9, well, in any season before, man. He'd only scored 9 in like 100 games or so before for us, but 9 this season alone. And it won't stop there, I'll tell you that for now. Kieran Trippier gets the ball, he sets it off, and like a bolt of fucking lightning, Miggy's after the ball. Messi Almiron gets it, plays a beautiful 1-2 with Bruno, which doesn't give it justice. It doesn't give it justice at all. Apologies, I'm not 100% at the moment, but he plays a great 1-2. Lovely weighted pass. It takes 5 or 6 Leicester players out of the equation, and then it gives Miggy an opportunity, a sight there, which he takes full advantage of, smashes it into the back of the net. It's 2-0, 7 minutes on the clock. The job is done. It's now into game management mode, and it's just a case now of how many more do Newcastle want to win by. It's a case of, do we want to improve the goal difference even more than it looks at the moment, which is a fantastic look in itself as well. But yeah, Miggy scores. The thing is, you sort of you think, oh, he's going down. He's been shown on his right hand side. That's his weaker side. He's not got a right foot. Miggy really has, as we saw in the cup. But he just works. He works his magic. Honestly, he's like fucking any magician, fucking Dynamo, Paul Daniels, you fucking name it, that lad is it. He's a magician. He's going nowhere, but then in a blink of the eye, he's in on goal. He plays the ball to Bruno and it doesn't stop. And we're talking about the good combinations, the good partnerships. Bruno knows, you can tell they've worked on it so much, and they've implemented it so much this season, that Miggy just keeps on running. Bruno knows he's going to keep on running, and Miggy's got that confidence. He's not being asked to track back. He's not being asked to defend the goal line at all. For every bit of your life, it depends on it. Like he wasn't to Steve Bruce. He's not asked to do the defensive donkey work. They've found a system that gets the most out of Miggy Almiron. No doubt, he's just won Paraguayan Footballer of the Season again. 3rd time that he's won that accolade. And you can see why. He's an absolute magician. I've seen him call Messi Almiron all over the place, and you can understand why. Because he produces magic moments when they're needed. He's cool as you like. He really is cool as you like. And Leicester had no answer for him. They knew what was coming. We've seen that 1-2 time and time again. It'll have been scouted by Brendan Rodgers, no doubt about it. But there's one thing, realising it and appreciating it and knowing about it. It's another thing in itself to come up with an answer for that sort of form. Bruno, absolutely world class, and Miggy is the highest scoring midfielder in the Premier League this season, and it speaks absolute volumes, and it makes the job of recruitment in January even more and more difficult, because you're trying to get better players. Who is playing better than a Miggy Almiron at the moment? Who's playing better than a Bruno at the moment? And it's a difficult thing to be able to ask the recruitment team to do. More on that later on. But Newcastle weren't finished there with the goals. This one wasn't one that they've worked on the training pitch. No, this was as old-fashioned and as simple as you'd like. It's a great floated ball in, but bottom of it is Joe Linton had the bollocks to go for it. He was determined. He was possessed. He was all over the place. He was an absolute beast, an absolute mountain. He comes in and he meets it beautifully with a header, bang, back at the net. And of course, at that stage, Leicester are just dumbstruck. They know that it's over. If it was a boxing game, or a boxing match even, that might be the better way to put it. If it was a boxing match, the referee would have stopped it at this point, because it was such a mismatch. And at this point, I'm already starting to think about the League Cup games and thinking, these are the lot that's stopping us from getting into a semi-final. That shouldn't be any problem whatsoever for us. But after that, Newcastle cruised. They had another injury that to bring on Jose Perez. That probably was a little bit awkward for the Spaniard coming on and looking at Newcastle with those envious eyes and thinking what could have been. But he made his choice. He's made his bed. He's got to lie in it now and all that sort of thing. But it gets to half time, 3-0. We had chances in the second half, but let's face it, we just saw the game out. We managed it. We didn't take unnecessary risks. We protected the players. We protected the lads who were there. We made some substitutions late on. St Maximin, he got some minutes. Murphy as well. And yeah, the game was sort of out there. Brought on Vardy. They changed formation. To be fair to Brendan Rodgers, he had a go. He tried to change things, but no, they weren't unlocking that Newcastle defence, which is now once again, statistically, the best defence, the tightest defence in all of the Premier League. We've kept the most clean sheets. We've got the best defensive record. The unit is absolutely fantastic. Matt Targett, he had that unfortunate injury. He can't get back in past Dan Burn. He's from Blythe, don't you know? Check the song out. It's over on our TikTok account and Twitter and so forth. But no, they couldn't get through. The unit is playing tremendously well. And yeah, they just don't look like shipping goals. Sven Botman was pulled out for special praise for Brendan Rodgers, called a proper player. You can't disagree. But Fabian Schär played really well. He looks like he's got over the World Cup stuff. Kieran Trippier, outstanding on the right hand side of the defence. Arguably the most important signing, because he was the first major purchase for the club under the new ownership. Dan Burn, unbelievable left back, doing a great job there. Nick Pope, when called upon, did what he needed to do, which wasn't a great deal. And every good team is built on a good defence. And yeah, with no doubt about it, this one is built on a fantastic defensive unit. At the back line for us, and I thought Sean Longstaff was another one who was great. Went under the radar a little bit, but I thought he had a fantastic game. I really did. Bruno, world class. Everybody contributed. Everybody was 8s, 9s, 10s all along the way. There's no problems with any of that. Chris Wood come close to adding to his penalty kick. Sadly, he didn't add any more goals, but that's still something like 4 in 5 games or something like that. So that isn't too bad. It isn't too shoddy for a deputy. Yes, he probably isn't worth the £25 million that we've paid for him, but does it really matter in the big scheme of things? He's coming in, he's doing the job, he's working to the tactical system. Eddie Howe likes him, ticks a lot of the boxes, and that's now what it's about. Another 3 points in the bag. How high can Newcastle go? Look, we're playing with no pressure, no expectations. We're ahead of the plan from the ownership group and stuff, so it's happy days. We just go to it. Some of the teams around us have got European competition to pick up shortly, extra games, potential injuries that they might get, so on and so forth. We can take advantage of it. I'm not saying that we're going to win the league, but it's nice to be in the conversation, to be up that end of the table rather than be towards the bottom end of the table, which we were for 99% of the time under Mike Ashley, Steve Bruce and his bunch of useless bastards that previously the custodians of the football club. It's great to have somebody like Eddie Howe who talks about after the game about there's things to work on, but he wants the supporters to dream. He wants the supporters to be positive, and boy, fucking hell, do we deserve it after all the shit that we've had to fucking stomach, after all the terrible times under that absolute fucking tyrant Mike bastard Ashley, and Lee fucking Charney, who's working his magic, I see, down in Nottingham Forest. As well, wasting fucking money and looks certain for bastard relegation, and only interested in 4th bottom. So there is quite a lot of similarities there for old Lee Charney. But back to Newcastle, we've got Leeds coming up, which will be a fantastic game. Great atmosphere. There'll be noisy fans in the stadium, under the lights, chance of another 3 points and to stay again into the conversation, because it's upsetting people, no doubt about it. I've heard this morning on TalkSport, they're talking about Champions League, and they're talking about Manchester United will come back into the Champions League spaces, into the challenging for the championship and all this, and they talked about everybody, but they missed Newcastle out completely. Keep up with it, because at the end of the season there is going to be more helpings of apple pie. Not that type of apple pie for Steve Bruce. No, it's humble pie to be served up and dished out to many pundits, and some are starting to turn a little bit. You've seen the Paul Merson video clips yesterday across the socials. He is having his view changed, but he just looks like a muppet. They flip-flop all of the time, but yeah, Newcastle get none of the credit. We're playing some great football. We've lost once all season, and that was through some absolute fucktardery. That was an Anfield decision. That was gift wrapped by the fucking referees, who were nothing but against us at the beginning of the season. All we're doing now is getting the decision that we deserve to be getting. If we'd have had that in the beginning, or section of games, we would be top. There's no doubt about it. They've only just come out recently and spoke about the Palace fiasco, and they've just spoken about how that goal should have stood. The rules weren't applied correctly. The VAR didn't do its job. But it's just the tip of the fucking iceberg. But yeah, we go into this Leeds game. I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to be back at St James's Park. It feels like far too long. Whose idea was it to put a stupid World Cup in the middle of the season? Because it's nothing like it. It is nothing like it. Newcastle in action in the Premier League. There's nothing else like it. You can keep your World Cups. You can keep all that for me. I'm so glad that we're back to action. Great game this weekend. Leeds, if we were to get 3 points, we stay in and amongst around the top 4. Not that other pundits will say that though. And then we go into a huge game coming up shortly against Arsenal. You get something out of that, and then surely we start getting some sort of respect from somewhere, and it's just great to see. And of course, it'll take us into the January transfer window. Speculational mania has already started to begin with players. I don't think we're going to be able to get players in who are going to better what we've already got, because that's not because of lack of anything or this, that and the other, or lack of effort. But you look at the team, and it's a difficult job to replace some of the players that we've got in our first team at the moment. ASM's coming back. We've got Isaac as well coming back. There's £100 million worth of players who've contributed virtually zip to the first part of the season. So that's an addition to what we've already got. That's extra spokes to the wheel. That's extra ammunition up front when it comes to attacking, creating chances and scoring goals. So we've got a lot to come back. So it's now about improving the squad, because yet again we've got more injuries from the players who are serially injured. You've got your Paul Dummett, who are never there. You've got your John Joe Shelby's. And these are great players, great men, great leaders, probably great behind the scenes. Great professionals that don't want to be injured, but they are consistently injured. You've got your Matt Ritchies, who came on actually in front of Fraser against Leicester, but he's there and thereabouts, and then we'll be missing for a while. And that's the only thing I think in January that we can do. And it's the best way that the club could support the efforts for Eddie Howe and the lads on the pitches, and that's to balance the squad out and to build a squad with 25 players who most of the time, I know injuries can happen at any time, but these recurring injuries, we can't have these players using the spaces up. So it's about improving the squad for me, improving the options from the bench, and it's about having it so that we can rest players for a game or two if they're needed, if they're fatigued, if the games are coming every 2-3 days. We can make those changes, and the quality will then remain still high, and it doesn't drop off or anything else like that. So that's the way I think we need to go, and to improve obviously the youth side, so that in future years we've got a pool of players to be able to call upon who don't have to be registered in the 25, who can come in and who are of a really good quality. I do think the money will be there. I do think we'll wheel and deal. I do think there'll be 4 or 5 who go out over January, and I think there'll be 2 or 3 that come in, and those 2 and 3 will be very good, welcome additions to the squad. So midfield, I think, is a must. I think right back, I think we need to get a young right back in to be able. That might be Ashby from West Ham. I don't know that for definite. I'm not one of these in the nose. Just from what I've seen, it might come in and be an understudy to Kieran Trippier. That might allow Manquillo to move on to pastures new. That's I think a very definite strong possibility. Deals like that, so moving players out, bringing some more players in, improving the overall squad and the options available to the manager, definitely. But I can't wait. I already can't wait, and this is what's so refreshing to previous seasons. Before, Newcastle would have ruined your Christmas, ruined your New Year, your birthdays, your weekends in general, time and time again, with no consistency. Now we're top of the form table. We don't concede, we're scoring goals, and we're playing some fucking good football, and we've got some great footballers in there. So now you're just looking forward. You can't wait until the next instalment of this adventure. And you can just never say never for nothing. You can never say never about a European qualification. Never say never this season about Champions League qualification. You can never say never about even, likely as it probably is, a title push. Because the form that we are on now warrants that level of optimism and belief in these lads who are giving it their absolute all. The press is magnificent to watch, and we're approaching halfway through the season and nobody has really found an answer to it, apart from bribing the fucking referees, of course, and getting all sorts of shit fucking shenanigans going on, like what happened at Anfield. That's the only way, that's the only chip in the armour so far this season. You know, FA Cup's going to be starting shortly. Looking forward to seeing what we can do in the FA Cup as well. Fingers crossed, this could be the season. And based upon this game, and knowing that this same opposition is all that stands between us and the semi, we have to be positive, we have to be optimistic, we have to be convinced that we've sold out St James's Park with the atmosphere spot on, that we'll roar the lads onto a semi-final very, very shortly. And you just never know when it gets to the semi-finals. It can be a lottery because the quality is high, and the teams that are left have done a lot to get to that stage of the competition. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to the weekend, and looking forward to see what's to come. Will Ryan Fraser move on? Will Matt Ritchie move on? Interested in those lads as well. Will others go out on loan? There's talk about Elliot Anderson going out on loan. I think he needs some game time, and I don't know if he's going to get it at the moment at Newcastle to the level that he needs to aid his development. So I think he might go out on loan. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what the club does do. Happy days. So I hope they enjoy the rest of your time. Hopefully you got a few more days off over this Christmas leave. I, of course, am at Craft at the moment and continue to be at Craft. But like I say, more than happy, you know, where things are at, how things are going. The future is very, very bright, and the future is lots of humble pie when it comes to discussing our football club. But yeah, comprehensive, easy as you like. Leicester players sounding very downbeat after that game. You know, they've been on a good run. That came to an absolute grinding halt, and they know that they've got to do it again coming up. Happy days. So let me know what you think down below about the squad, about possible transfers. Do you think there is players out there who could improve our, you know, starting 11, or is it more about building up a squad capable of doing, you know, much better and better and better? I don't want to say it, but you know, sort of pushing up to the top few positions in the league, shall we say, as opposed to anything else. Let me know down below your thoughts on the game and the future and the transfer window and the League Cup and the possibilities that will bring as well. And in the meantime, take care, keep it tuned, and I'll speak to you later.